Thank you. Well, I've been saying this the last 3 mornings, but it seemed like 30 minutes goes so fast for me. And nowadays, I'm more of a teacher and a coach than anything, and I find myself trying to explain and teach certain points of roping. And roping really, as far as equating your roping to winning, is all about a practice program and understanding your practice program. And I was thinking this morning what I could touch on that would help somebody go home. And there's so many things that we take for granted because that's all I've ever done for 40 years is practice really hard to try to stay on the highest level that I could possibly stay on for me mentally, for my horse. So one thing I wanted to visit with you guys about a little is that a lot of times when we practice, we're just kind of sometimes going out there and bringing in 2 or 3 pins of steers and maybe running 20, 30 head and just kind of going through the motions. And by isolating certain things in the run, it's very important, but then also literally isolating the fact that when you rope, do you rope for your horse on purpose? And then do you rope for yourself on purpose? And I think everybody's guilty sometimes too much of either roping too much for their horse or too much for theirself. Or just kind of going through the motions or randomly taking a run for the horse and a run for theirself and not repetitiously really fixing either one. And Trey Johnson's a good friend of mine, and he has a great statement, and it is every day we should strive to be 1% better. And the reason I think for the 1% is like any of us can be a little better at understanding our horse, figuring out a little better program for our horse every day, or a little bit better program for ourselves. But here's an example.
Folks,
I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what I do.
Booth. There's a phone.
For instance,
it's got a barrel racer on the back.
When you're team roping, almost everything that your horse is doing is seem like he's accelerating or getting collected or moving through a turn, right? Well, how often can we slow that down and break it down for our horse? Well, I did something with a guy named Aaron Ralston, really cool guy. I was on RFD TV, and I didn't realize it would get that much attention. A lot of people said they seen it and really enjoyed it and have been doing it. But what we did is we put 3 barrels up, and I've always been big on loping my horse in big circles, medium circles, and small circles. And what I did is I showed everybody to start with about taking my horse and loping him in a uniform circle around 3 barrels, keeping the same distance all the way around a barrel. And amazingly, do you know how many ropers can't do that, by the way? Me being one of them at the start. I mean, your horse's tendencies are to go wide on one side of the barrel or narrow on the other side, meaning kind of blow his hip out and want to go wide where you need to use your right leg to hold him in at the right distance from the barrel on one side, and then on the other side he wants to kind of shoulder in and kind of cut the corner, so you have that opportunity to use your left leg on that side. So literally loping a uniform circle around a barrel, and especially going from this barrel to the far barrel and then this barrel, kind of like barrel racing, only I always go in the left lead. I always go around this barrel, and then I go and I look up at the next barrel and I stay my distance to the right, make me a pocket around it, and go the next barrel. And then as I do that, my horse is tracking real smooth, meaning he's collected really well, and I'm in time with his stride, riding my horse as if I was roping. Well, then I'll go ahead and I'll accelerate my horse from one barrel to the next. As you do that, you'll start really getting an understanding of how that horse depends on you to interact and communicate with him. And really to be at one with your horse, it takes some time and it takes some effort. Well, by doing that, then putting a rope in your hand and swinging around the barrel, whether you're heading or heeling, go around all 3 barrels, work on your body posture, work on your swing. When you want to accelerate, drop your hand, use your legs, sit up straight, accelerate him for 4 or 5 strides, and then get him collected coming into the barrel. And again, this sounds pretty simple. And most ropers look at me and roll their eyes almost like, are we going to run barrels? I thought we come to your roping school to rope. And I'm like, horsemanship is like the most important part, really, of roping. If you can't be in the right spot, what good does it do you? I mean, them guys could tell you that out here at the NFR. The guys that aren't in the right spot at the right time are struggling with their roping right now out there. The guys that happen to be riding their horses really good, or their horses working really good, they're winning money and they feel real comfortable. Roping calves, heading, heeling, whatever. But anyway, as I did that, then I hooked up, my sled, and we pulled the Smarty around all 3 barrels. And we did the same thing. Now I'm asking my horse to basically stay in position, and again, whether you're heading it or heeling it, but stay in position and go around in a big circle around each of these 3 barrels. So he's having to frame up, and when I say frame up, I catch myself teaching all the time. Les Volt's a 15 times world champion. He's a friend of mine I give lessons to, but he taught me some really cool analogies or ways to explain things. But framing up is basically just, if you lope a horse around a barrel, a uniform circle, he should be able to, like he said, there's a invisible railroad track around this barrel, representing the pattern that your horse takes. And your horse's front feet are the front wheels of the train. The back end of your horse, the back feet, are the back wheels of the train. And he said, you have to be aware of every stride where he might come derailed at. Meaning if his hip comes off here, meaning you need to use your right leg and hold his hip in place when you're going around the barrel. If his front end comes derailed off of that, it's called, he's not framed up. He's coming out of frame. He's dropping his shoulder. So you use your right leg or your left leg to hold him up. So as you're loping these circles, you're basically learning every stride to keep your horse framed up. You're starting to be more conscious of being framed up and not putting your feet all over the horse and moving your hands all over the place. And as I can ride balanced and framed up and help my horse, well, now I could effectively say, get behind the Smarty and go around these barrels and keep my horse in position. So it's like now I've got to not only stay framed up with my riding, but I've got to focus on keeping him exactly in the right spot. I'm getting some feedback here a little bit. Am I doing an all right job here? So again, sometimes I think, well, I hope this is revelation to you, because just roping steers doesn't do anybody any good. Once you start getting a deeper understanding of certain parts of your horsemanship and your focus, you start understanding, well, I can isolate this and fix my roping. And just like this drill, if you can go around 3 barrels pretty sharp, keep your horse in position, keep your body posture right, and keep your swing right, going around the barrel, accelerating to the next barrel, collecting to the next barrel, and keeping your horse in position the whole time, your horse has a drill that he can work on to get his footwork down while he's practicing his focus and attention in concentration on staying in position. And then you're also able to keep your attention to keep him exactly in the right spot while you're focusing on your body posture, while you're focusing on your swing, because every bit of that ends up relating to this right here. Everybody worries about the throw, but everything I've been mentioning, it's a domino effect. Everything affects that right there. And honestly, the delivery is easy. You watch the little kids at the dummy roping deal. Once you keep a rope in your hand a little bit and you practice your swing and delivery, the roping part's the easiest part, I think. It's not a big deal to understand that, if I do this enough, say heeling, practicing my swing and keeping my hand in the right spot, it's a piece of cake really to just reach down there and rope 2 feet. That's never been a big deal. Now the rest of it, preparing your horse and getting yourself in a position every time to receive an easy shot, now that's the challenge. To where you can 4 times in a row out here at the World Series put your horse in a spot to where every single time is like, wow, I had 4 easy shots today. It felt so easy to win the money today, instead of 1 easy shot and 3 shots that were just like, is that making sense to everybody? So here's what I say. Take a part of your practice program, invest it in your horse, and then in you riding your horse. So there's kind of like this. You got your riding and your roping. Everybody wants to kind of be thinking about the roping. Why did I start swinging my arm when I thinking about your roping? When we actually run a steer, when you start doing this, all your attention falls to roping. And if you haven't programmed your subconscious to ride your horse really well, and he's not trained to do really well, then you're just thinking so much about your roping that your horsemanship falls apart. Until our horsemanship and our horse is really patternized, and we really have good habits built throughout the run in where to put our horse, well then a lot of times our roping ends up messing our riding up. Because you have, like Jake Barnes said, he goes, the toughest thing about roping is God give us 1 brain and 2 hands, and it's like your riding is your left hand and your legs, and your roping is your right arm, and you only have 1 brain. So you have to learn from day one to deal with that. Okay, like over here, my left hand and my legs. I'm working on my horse and my riding for, let's say, a half hour, whether it's taking the Smarty and doing different skills and drills with it and getting really good at that. And then over here, it's like on purpose. I'm going to rope the Smarty for 30 minutes. Now I'm investing time in me. I've invested my time in my horse. Now I'm going to relax. I'm going to really work on my swing and my delivery. So I'm bringing this part of my roping up. Now I'm investing time in this part of my roping. Tomorrow I'm going to work on this part of my roping, then this part of my roping. Well then, and I hope I'm making sense to everybody. Then when you rope live cattle, you know what you've honestly do. You can read books about this, but I like trying to keep it simple. Now we have downloaded our subconscious. Everything has become such a habit. Swing and delivery is a piece of cake. It's a habit. No big deal. Riding our horse right is a habit. So now when we rope, what should we be thinking about when we're roping live cattle? Anybody help me out with that? Nothing. Now you're really trusting your subconscious to where you can go and relax and make nice runs. Now we automatically ride our horse good, and we automatically are roping good. Because how many times have you heard, if I think too much, it just seems like it messes me up so much. Every time I get to thinking too much. Well, I heard that so much and said it so much myself, it's like, man, I got to figure out the right process in this to help myself and help other people with. And hopefully that is helping you guys. There is a process to being a great roper. And what guys like us can pass on to you is that what it cracks me up is like you guys rope at more money than what we do, right? Out here, $100,000, every roping, they're giving $100,000 a man away. And you don't have to be a number 10 roper to do it. But if you got onto this training program and looked at things the way I do, Patrick Smith does, Trevor does, because you're a number 4 roper doesn't mean you can't practice the way we do, think about things the way we do, because that would only make sense that you would have the attitude and the mindset that we do. And then go and, hey, let them raise your number, but by the time they raise you from a 4 to a 6 or 7, you might win $300,000 or $400,000. And that's kind of my goal with my Smart Roping program. Not only am I going to put schools on, try to make myself a living, but I wanted there to be more to that. I want to see people really do well with their roping, because it really does make me feel good when they text me or email me with a picture of a saddle or a buckle or doing better. But there's a reason if you're not doing better. And there's always, and it's not that hard. I just want to keep passing that on to people. Roping's not hard. It's a process. Learn from one of us guys that have been doing it all our life. And then mainly learn from the way we practice. How do we think about our practice program? If you could ever go sitting through a Trevor Brazil practice session, the way he goes at it, the way he saddles up, the way he warms up, the way he goes into his deal. I mean, you would learn a lot just watching the intensity and the concentration. Or Jade Corkle or Patrick Smith. And I'm not saying that all of these guys have that, but if you're going to be a world champion, you have to adapt a practice program that's over the top. And I always did. I might not have been maybe the most talented, but my intensity with my practice was kind of, I mean, that's where I think I got the compliments, is like no one tries any harder than Big Al. You know, and then hey, you do the best with what you have. If you're not the most talented, and I think that's where I can relate to most normal people, is like, if I practice more and smarter than everybody else, I'm going to get more results. Because fortunately, most of the guys I've competed against, they might have been, some of them better than I was, but if they didn't get the most out of it, if it wasn't productive practice, they didn't achieve the level that I did. Even to the point where when you're here at the national finals, it's kind of too late. If you haven't done your homework up here and become a mentally strong person up here, you know, just like today, if you watch close and you could just watch nothing but the mental part of going into the day, some guys are relaxed because it's like, who cares? I've had a bad week. It's all on the line, no big deal. And then all the way to the guys that are winning the average and a chance to win a world's championship. That's where it really tests your mental game, to be able to honestly say, well, I'm just going to go rope this steer like I do any other steer. You know, it's like, yeah, right. I've tried to fool myself into that one. Right around out there, okay, this is for a world's championship. I'm just going to rope him like I'm home. You know, and there's a voice in there going, liar. Don't miss, everybody's watching, you're going to be a fool. My wife laughs, there's a movie, Shanghai Noon. Has anyone seen Shanghai Noon? Oh man, roping all my life, I relate to Owen Wilson, and he gets thrown into this gunfight, and he's a comedian, of course. He's into this gunfight, and he's out there, and this one guy that's a great gunfighter, and he knows he's going to kill him. You know, it's almost like going into this last day at the NFR, and there's voices in his head. It's like, you can do it, you can do it. Be the bullet. I'm the silver bullet. And then the other voice in his head's like, he's going to blow you away. And it's so funny because that goes on out there at that, you know. So, but your attitude towards all of that, like, helps. And I don't know if this little thing helps anybody, but I've learned to downplay situations like that. Even in the Thomas and Mack, I've been in there, I would say more than anybody, 30 times. But you know what? Because of your friends and family and being grateful for the things that God's blessed us with, whoever it is that fumbles the ball over there today, it's no big deal. Tomorrow the race starts all over again. It'll all be forgotten about. It's fun. It's a game. It was good to just get to play run the race. I tried to keep that attitude, and it's like, sometimes I'm going to catch the ball in the end zone. Sometimes I might fumble it. There's no big deal. Still have my wife, still have my family, my friends. It's no big deal. You have to be able to do that to keep your sanity. And I've stayed somewhat sane through all marginal. But through doing all that, for me, that's helped me the most. And I don't know if that would help you guys, but when you get into a pressure situation, you know what? You're not going to catch them all. But if you can downplay it and see it for what it really is, it's a game, I enjoy it, I'm going to relax, I'm going to have fun, you're going to catch more of them with that attitude than you are this deal. You know, like setting those scenarios that, boy, if I don't catch this deer, oh my gosh, you know, I've done that to myself and tortured myself with that, and it's like, you know what, I proved to myself that when it's all said and done, nothing happens. Nothing bad happens if you miss the last one. All the real things that matter in life, everything's still in place. So it's interesting to me. I love watching them have to deal with all the 30 years of what I've had to deal with. And the Shanghai noon thing there with I know there's voices going in their head, and even when they back in there and they don't nod and they ride up, it's like, that deal's like, be the silver bullet. He's going to blow you away. I mean, all that's going on. Well, shoot, I don't know how much time I have left here, but do you guys have any questions? If you have, I mean, I try to open it up to where anyone has a particular question about anything. I had a couple other things I wanted to share with you. One is for me, healing. I was going to show you, and it happens here at the NFR, and it's going to happen to any of you guys healing here too. Ride in normal position, 10 foot over, one stride back, getting your horse collected, coming in here into lane 2. Once you get that down, that's great, and you're hitting your spot. But sometimes that steer moves over like to the left fence, and you're seeing that at the NFR. So we're going over here to the left fence, and that horse, of course, when the rope starts to go on, he's starting to get collected. You have to ride your horse different in different scenarios. Like over here, like if I literally don't move my horse over exactly when he's moving, I'm late, and it's too late. At the NFR, it is too late. If you don't move over right when the steer does and advance your horse up into this higher position, you never can catch up. It's too fast. And even you guys that are roping, you've got to do that. You got to keep this spacing, move over, and then as that steer starts to turn and get into the fence or close to the fence and come back, you've got to imagine this pocket that you're going to ride your horse around. So it's like you're unconsciously trying to make it easy on your horse. Okay, I'm riding this pocket, I'm keeping him moving, and I know that I'm going to heel this steer right here when he's going back up the arena. So I'm going to keep my legs moving, I'm going to keep pressure here, hold his shoulder up, and it's like push, 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 and then right when he hits, my goal and the ability to be able to think 1 or 2 jumps ahead. Like they say, Wayne Gretzky could think 2 jumps ahead of the whole hockey game. Michael Jordan was always like 1 play ahead of everybody else. And good healers are that way. It's like when that steer goes to the left, I know that steer's his hip is gonna be there. So as I'm moving over there, I'm already processing that, and I know that I've got to really ride strong, and I've got to get out here, make this pocket, and I've got to end up right here when that hip hits so that I can be off of the hip with my spacing and able to rope the steer right when he turns. And honestly, that's probably what you're seeing the healers do. That's what we struggle with. That's what they do the worst out here at the NFR, is the guys that are able to ride out there, get around them, and keep their spacing, and doing that all, in 3 seconds, to where right when they pull the trigger, the shot is here and not here. you've seen so many of them letting their horses cut the corner and throw right there, and then their shots are right there beside their stirrup, and that ends up costing them.